So last night I watched this movie called Dumplings, and it was actually presented to me by my boyfriend. He's like, have you heard of it? He's never seen it or anything. But I got intrigued after I read what it was about. I was like, wow, that sounds really disturbing. So I decided to watch it for my Asian horror series. And I'm going to say that this movie is not, it's technically labeled as horror, I think just because of the disturbing aspects of it. But it's mostly, I would describe it as a disturbing drama. Now, this is a 2004 Chinese film, and like I said, I'm going to have a variety of different Asian country horror movies included, and I'm also not just doing horror. I think my next one I'll do is I Saw the Devil, which technically isn't really horror either. So, Dumplings. I'm going to start by saying this is one of my favorite Asian films of all time now. After I watched this, it was magnificent. My favorite Asian film in general, in case you want to know, is Oldboy. I get requested all the time to watch that and review it. I'm not going to review it. I mean, I guess I could if you wanted me to. It's another disturbing drama, I would say. Kind of action. I love Oldboy. I've seen it many times and it's one of my favorites. So you don't need to ask me to like watch it or anything because I get so many people like recommending that movie to me. But it is one of my favorites anyway. But now Dumplings is close second. It was amazing. I'm gonna say that the acting was so well done. I kind of complained last time about, you know, with Asian movies, it's hard because some of it can feel overacted, I feel, especially with the subtitles and the translation. Sometimes it's kind of lost in translation, I would say, that it just seems overacted because of what they're saying. But in their own language context, I'm sure it makes sense. Just in English, when it's subtitled, it may not make sense, if that makes sense. This movie also had amazing production. The music, the cinematography was so unique. I would say that not everybody's gonna love the cinematography of this movie, but I loved it. It was so different. You would see people in a frame and half their face is on the very edge of the frame and then the rest is just like the wall, and it's different, and like the way they're looking is completely cut out when normally in cinematography you would see their point of view or at least their whole face, but this movie wasn't like that, and I actually think it added to the whole feel of the movie. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the plot, and I know you guys like it when I give spoilers and stuff, so I will be doing that after I go a little bit more into what I thought about the movie, and I decided to cut out the ratings. And the reason for that is I like when I have free range to just talk about the movie and how I felt about it versus being too structured. I think too much structure can be a bad thing, but I do want a little bit of structure. So I'm just gonna go into what the basic plot is, so no spoilers here, and then I'll get into spoilers at the end. So it's set in Hong Kong, and there's this woman named Mrs. Lee who was an actress, and she has since stopped acting, and she is starting to lose her looks. At least that's what she's supposed to. I think she's beautiful anyway, but she's supposedly losing her looks, and her husband has an affair with his masseuse, who is like 20 years old, and he's like 60. I'm assuming, I don't know, he has gray hair. But he married her, Mrs. Lee, when she was 20, and so he has like a thing for young women, and so she is kind of desperate to regain her looks to get her man back. So she hears about Aunt May, who is a dumpling shop owner, and she runs her own little shop out of her own kitchen. And so Mrs. Lee goes there and says, I hear your dumplings are the most expensive. And she's like, well, you get what you pay for. And she was like, guess how old I am. And it's like, the part is acted by a very young actress, and she ends up being 64 years old, and she looks like younger than me. So I thought that was pretty cool how they added that. So basically her dumplings include cabbage, you know, some dumpling ingredients, and unborn fetuses, basically aborted fetuses. And Aunt May, who is the dumpling shop owner, she used to work for a clinic that did abortions. She used to be a doctor, and she believes that eating this is like this magic for regaining youth. The disturbing factor of this movie is so high It's very graphic. You see many fetuses. I think the worst part for me was when she was making the dumplings. She like dumps the bowl of fetuses onto her cutting board and just hacks them up, and I'm just like thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, these are just jelly fake fetuses. They're not real, obviously. And I'm just like trying to tell myself it's not real, because it was disgusting. That part really got to me when she was chopping them up. It was bad. So at first Mrs. Lee is kind of repulsed by this, but she eats them anyway because she's desperate, and you know, she wants her man and her man to love her and think of her as beautiful like she used to be. So yeah, that's basically the main plot of it. I will say that the ending was kind of anticlimactic for me. She does eventually get back at the younger girl who he had an affair with, but let me just say he gets all over the place, man. He is a friggin' man whore. By far my favorite character was Aunt May. I think, oh my gosh, I can't remember her name. It was like Bai Ling or something. I looked up the actress that played her because she was unbelievable. Like, the acting in this movie, I've never seen an Asian movie acted so well. Some other disturbing things in this movie, you see unborn chicks, like, in an egg. For some reason, the husband loves eating fertilized eggs from chickens. And you see, like, the full-on baby chicken, and he just goes in for it and eats it, and it's so gross. You also see an abortion take place, so I'll go a little bit more into the plot for you. It's not like a spoiler, it's just a little bit more in the middle of the movie. So Mrs. Lee is not fully satisfied by the results. She's getting results, but not as quickly as she wants. So she asks for her most potent stuff. She wants the good stuff that will, like, overnight turn her around. And so Aunt May says, okay, well, I can get that for you, but it takes time. Basically, the best fetus to eat is at 4 or 5 months from a young girl. And so, funny enough, she shows up, this little girl, she's 14 or 15, was raped by her father and got pregnant. And so her mom takes her to Aunt May to get an abortion, and she's like, I know you can do it, please. And at first Aunt May is like, no, I don't do that anymore. But then she realizes the opportunity. She would get a 5-month-old fetus. So she performs the abortion on the girl, and you don't see like full on, but you experience that with her, and it is so disturbing to me. Oh my gosh, it did get to me a little bit, this movie. It's definitely disturbing, especially if stuff like that bothers you, which I don't know why it wouldn't bother anybody. If this doesn't bother you, you should really be checked out. So basically, through all her struggles, you do end up feeling bad for Mrs. Lee, and I felt sad and I wanted to cry, and it was definitely more of a drama movie. It had, obviously, the abortion fetus aspect to it, but overall, it was more dramatic. Overall, I'm going to give this movie a 9. I will rate movies as far as overall score. I love this movie so much. It was a beautiful movie. It was just, you witness this woman through her struggles of trying to remain beautiful forever, and it gets really sad, but I loved the ending. I thought it was anticlimactic, but I think it was really cool. So I'm going to go into the ending, so if you don't want to hear about it, if you want to watch this movie separately without knowing what happens at the end, then you can turn off the video now. So basically what happens is the 20-year-old masseuse that her husband had an affair with ends up getting pregnant. And she meets Mrs. Ling for lunch one day and tells her, I'm 5 months along. And so Mrs. Lee ends up saying, well, I want your baby. And he's like, what? Or she says, whatever he's paying you, I'm gonna double it. So I don't know, I guess he's paying her for the baby. I don't know what that whole storyline was about. So she's like, I want your baby. And she's like, you know, kind of questioning it. And she's like, no, I want it now, like at 5 months. I want you to abort it. And so she gives her a check, and she goes along with it. Like, what kind of woman can, like, why, I don't understand like, how can you pay someone off to abort your child? Like, that's so horrible. So they're in the operating room, and they're gonna induce early labor basically to abort it. It's not like they scrape it all out because she wants it to be pristine in whole condition with no medication in it or anything. And the masseuse girl is like, what do you want this for? Like, why do you want my baby? As she's doing it, it's like, shouldn't you ask those questions before you go into the abortion? And Mrs. Lee is just like, I'm gonna make a trophy, the most expensive trophy in the world. I don't know what that exactly means, but basically maybe she's like gonna eat it. I mean, she does eat it at the end. You see her chopping it up herself, because eventually Aunt May stops her business and kind of runs away from it all. And she actually ends up sleeping with Mrs. Lee's husband. That's what I mean by when he gets around, he really gets around. He sleeps with every woman in that movie. So she has to resort to finding her own fetuses now because Aunt May has ran off. So she does eat the fetus and everything. Maybe what she meant by trophy, she's gonna make herself a trophy wife or something. I don't know, because she's gonna be hot and young. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was kind of anticlimactic in a way. Yeah, she gets back at the 20-year-old masseuse, but I thought it would have like a bigger pow, more action at the end, more something, but it just kind of like faded down and just kind of like dwindled out. I don't know if I liked that so much, or because I liked the ending, I liked what happened with the masseuse and everything, but I don't know if I liked how it just kind of like fizzled out instead of like a pow. I highly recommend watching this movie if you haven't seen it and you like Asian horror. It is incredible, so definitely check it out. I'll have the trailer listed down below. Oh, and one last thing, it is on Netflix, so if you want to watch it on Netflix, well, the US Netflix. I've been hearing that the one in England, in Europe, isn't the same as the one in the US, so I'm sorry for that if it's not available, but if it is available to you, I definitely recommend spending an hour and a half and watching it because it is so good. You will not regret it. So trailer down below. If you've seen this movie, let me know what you think down in the comments, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.